Under the blistering Georgia sun, Maya Jackson pumped gas into her beat-up sedan, her sundress swaying in the sticky breeze. Two white cops, Dale Harper and Vince Rawls, swaggered over, snickering as they tugged her skirt. She flipped them off, and they slammed her against the car, cuffs gleaming. Suddenly sirens screamed, an SUV roared in, and Maya flashed a CIA badge. The stunned cops were cuffed instead, humiliated. Victory? Not quite. Something sinister bruised beneath. What chaos awaits her now? Before we dive in, let me know where you're watching from, and if you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe for more gripping tales exposing corruption. The sun dipped low over the cracked asphalt of rural Georgia, casting jagged shadows across the gas station lot where Maya Jackson had just turned the tables on officers Dale Harper and Vince Rawls. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she leaned against the hood of her dusty sedan, the faint hum of cicadas filling the air. She adjusted her sundress, still wrinkled from where Rawls had grabbed it, and pulled out a burner phone from her glove box. Her fingers moved fast, dialing a secure line to her CIA handler, a gravel-voiced man named Kessler. The call connected after 2 rings, and she didn't wait for pleasantries. "It's done," she said, her tone clipped but steady. "Harper and Rawls are in cuffs. FBI's got them now, caught them red-handed, harassing me on camera." Kessler's grunt crackled through the static. "Good work, Jackson. That's the first crack in their wall. You've got the town's dirty laundry flapping in the wind." Maya allowed herself a tight smile, glancing at the swirling red and blue lights in the distance where federal agents were loading the 2 disgraced cops into an unmarked van. She could still hear Harper's outraged bellows, his meaty fists banging against the window, and Rawls' whiny protests about just doing their job. It felt good, clean, like the satisfaction of a well-laid trap snapping shut. She'd staged the whole thing, posing as a vulnerable traveler to bait their racism and arrogance, and they'd bitten hard. Now she thought the bigger fish would fry. Her mission had been clear from the start: infiltrate this backwater town, population 8,000, and dig up proof of a drug ring festering within the police department. For months, whispers had trickled up to Langley about methamphetamine labs blooming in abandoned barns, cash changing hands under diner tables, and cops turning blind eyes for a cut. Harper and Rawls were small fry, grunts with badges, but their arrest was supposed to spook the real players into showing their hands. Maya had spent weeks blending in, renting a room at a seedy motel called the Pineview, its neon sign buzzing faintly against the dusk. She'd kept her head down, worn plain clothes, and let the locals assume she was just another drifter passing through. Today's stunt at the gas station had been her opening move, a calculated jab to shake the hornets' nest, and it had worked. Too well, maybe. She slid into the driver's seat, the vinyl hot against her thighs, and drove the 3 miles back to the Pineview. The motel squatted on the edge of town, its peeling paint and sagging roof a testament to neglect. She parked under a flickering street lamp, grabbed her duffel bag, and headed to room 7. Inside, the air smelled of stale cigarettes and mildew, but it was quiet, isolated, perfect for her needs. She locked the door, checked the window blinds, and set up her laptop on a wobbly table. The screen glowed blue as she uploaded the gas station footage, her body cam catching every leer, every racist snicker from Harper and Rawls. "Got you," she muttered, hitting send to Kessler. The file zipped off and she leaned back, cracking her knuckles. The FBI would process the arrests, the evidence would pile up, and she'd be one step closer to dismantling the operation. She could almost taste the endgame. Outside, the town was waking up to the scandal. Through the thin walls, she heard muffled voices from the next room, a couple arguing about the news trickling in. "Those cops didn't do nothing wrong," a man growled. "That black chick probably asked for it, strutting around like she owns the place." His wife shushed him, but the venom lingered in the air. Maya's jaw tightened. She'd expected pushback, but the raw hatred in his tone still stung. She stepped onto the balcony, a rickety slab of concrete overlooking the parking lot, and lit a cigarette she didn't really want. The smoke curled upward as she scanned the street. A pickup truck slowed as it passed, its driver, a grizzled white guy in a baseball cap, staring her down with cold eyes. He spat out his window, the glob landing near her car, and peeled off. She exhaled sharply, flicking the cigarette away. Let them glare. She'd faced worse. Back inside, she poured lukewarm coffee from a thermos and reviewed her notes. The drug ring wasn't just a local hustle. It tied into a wider network stretching across state lines. Harper and Rawls were pawns, but their boss, whoever he was, had to be sweating now. She pictured the dominoes falling. Arrests, confessions, raids. Her pulse quickened at the thought. She'd been undercover for 6 years, cracking cases from Miami to Detroit, and this one felt personal. Growing up, black. In a neighborhood where cops saw her as a threat before she hit puberty had fueled her drive. This wasn't just a job, it was a reckoning. She finished the coffee, the bitter dregs coating her tongue, and checked her watch. 8:30. The FBI should have Harper and Rawls in a holding cell by now, sweating under interrogation lights. She allowed herself a moment to savor it. The burner phone buzzed again, Kessler's number flashing. She answered, expecting praise. "Jackson," he said, his voice tighter than before. "Feds say it's a clean bust. Locals are pissed, though. Watch your back." She nodded, even though he couldn't see. "Always do." "What's next?" He paused, the silence heavy. "Sit tight. We'll move on phase 2 once they crack those 2 open." She hung up, confident the plan was rolling forward. She kicked off her sneakers, stretched out on the lumpy mattress, and closed her eyes, replaying the gas station scene. Harper's red face as he realized he'd messed with the wrong woman. Rawls' stutter as the cuffs clicked. It was textbook, almost too easy. She drifted towards sleep, the hum of the motel's ancient AC lulling her, but then the phone rang again, shrill and insistent. She bolted upright, snatching it. No caller ID, just a string of zeros. Her gut twisted as she answered. Static hissed, for a moment before a voice cut through, low and venomous. "You think you're clever, don't you? Playing hero at that gas pump. You've just lit the match, sweetheart." The line went dead. Maya's breath caught, her eyes darting to the window. The parking lot was still, too still. She grabbed her pistol from the duffel, checked the clip, and crouched by the door, listening. A faint screech of tires echoed in the distance, growing louder. Headlights flashed across the blinds, and her heart slammed against her ribs. She'd won the first round, sure, but that voice, that threat, meant the real fight was barreling toward her. She edged to the window, peeling back a sliver of curtain. 2 trucks pulled into the lot, engines rumbling, their beds packed with shadowy figures. Men with bats and bottles, their faces twisted with rage. They spilled out, shouting, pointing at her room. Her victory at the gas station hadn't just rattled the cops. It had woken something uglier, something primal in this town. She gripped the gun tighter, her mind racing. The FBI had Harper and Rawls, but whoever was behind this wasn't scared. They were pissed, and they knew exactly where she was. The illusion of control she'd clung to shattered as glass exploded somewhere. Down the hall, the mob's roar swallowing the night. The night air thickened with menace as Maya Jackson crouched by the motel door, pistol clenched in her sweating palms. The screech of tires had morphed into a guttural roar outside the Pineview, headlights slashing through the blinds like knives. She peeked out, her stomach lurching at the sight. 2 pickup trucks disgorged a dozen men, their silhouettes hulking against the sodium glow of the street lamp. Bats swung lazily in their hands, bottles glinted with amber liquid, and their voices rose in a jagged chorus of hate. "Get that black bitch out here," one bellowed, his drawl dripping with venom. "She don't belong in our town," another snarled, hurling a brick that shattered a window down the hall. Glass sprayed like shrapnel, and Maya flinched, her pulse hammering. This wasn't just anger over Harper and Rawls. This was a lynching in the making, fueled by the raw, festering racism she dared to poke. She bolted to the bed, shoving her laptop and burner phone into her duffel. The mob's chants grew louder, a rhythmic thud of boots on gravel closing in. "Teach her a lesson," someone barked, and a Molotov cocktail sailed through the busted window, exploding in a bloom of fire across the carpet. Flames licked up the walls, smoke stinging her eyes as she yanked the door's deadbolt free. No time to think, just move. She slung the bag over her shoulder and darted into the hallway, the heat chasing her heels. The mob hadn't reached her room yet, their shouts still echoing from the lot. Could she slip out unnoticed? She sprinted toward the back exit, her sneakers slapping the warped linoleum, and burst through a rusted screen door into the humid night. Behind the motel, a scraggly patch of woods loomed, pines clawing at the sky. Maya plunged in, branches snagging her sundress as she wove through the undergrowth. Her breath rasped, but she didn't stop until she stumbled into a derelict woodshed, its walls sagging with rot. She ducked inside, chest heaving, and pressed herself against a splintered beam. The mob's roar faded to a dull hum, drowned by the chirp of crickets. Had she lost them? She fumbled for her phone, hands trembling, and dialed Kessler. Mob. "Hit the motel," she whispered when he picked up. "They're out for blood. I need backup now." His voice crackled, tense. "Hang tight, Jackson. I'll get a team there. Stay hidden." She nodded to herself, exhaling. She'd escaped, outsmarted them. The shed's shadows felt like armor, a fleeting shield against the chaos. But then, a twig snapped outside, sharp as a gunshot. Maya froze, her grip tightening on the pistol. Heavy footsteps crunched closer, deliberate, unhurried. A silhouette filled the shed's doorway, broad and menacing, the glint of a sheriff's star catching the moonlight. "Well, well," a deep voice rumbled, thick with menace. "Thought you could run, huh?" The figure stepped in, revealing a man in his 50s, grizzled and towering, his uniform crisp despite the hour. His name tag read Tate, and his smirk curdled her blood. Sheriff Clifton Tate, the law in this town, and, she realized with a jolt, the puppet master behind. Harper and Rawls. "You've been a busy little thing," he drawled, cracking his knuckles. "Messing with my boys, stirring up trouble. Guess you didn't know who you were dealing with." Maya's mind raced. This wasn't some random thug. This was the top dog, the one she'd been hunting. How had he found her so fast? She leveled her gun at his chest, her voice steady despite the sweat trickling down her spine. "Back off, Tate. I've got the feds on speed dial. You're done." He chuckled, a low, guttural sound that sent chills through her. "Feds? Darling, I own this county. Those boys you nabbed? Just the start. You've stepped into my world now." He took a step closer, his boots scuffing the dirt floor, and she saw the glint of a blade at his hip. Was he bluffing? Or did he really have the power to bury her? The mob's shouts flared again, closer now, their lights flickering through the trees. Tate tilted his head, listening, then grinned wider. "Hear that? My people don't take kindly to outsiders, especially ones who don't know their place. You're gonna wish you'd stayed in whatever city you crawled out of." Maya's jaw clenched. Their place? The racism wasn't just in the mob. It oozed from Tate himself, a man who saw her skin as a crime. She'd escaped the fire, sure, but this was no victory. Her win at the gas station had painted a target on her back, and Tate wasn't some grunt she could outmaneuver. He was the system here, untouchable, and he'd tracked her down like prey. She edged toward the shed's back wall, gun still trained on him, searching for an out. Could she stall him until Kessler's team arrived? "You're a coward," she spat, buying time. "Hiding behind your badge while your goons do the dirty work." His eyes narrowed, but his smirk didn't fade. "Coward? No sugar, smart, you'll see soon enough." He whistled, sharp and piercing, and the mob's roar surged, footsteps pounding toward the shed. Maya's heart sank. Backup wasn't coming fast enough, and Tate knew it. Her escape had been a mirage, a fleeting hope snatched away by a man who thrived on control. As the first silhouettes appeared in the trees, bats raised, she braced herself. What had she unleashed by poking this beast? Now let's hear from you. Comment number 1 if you think Maya should have seen this mob coming, or number 2 if you'd have fought Tate right there. If you're raging at this town's racism like I am, smash that like button and hit subscribe. For more twists exposing corruption's ugly face. What's your take? Could Maya outrun this storm, or is she already drowning? Next up, will her CIA smarts save her, or will Tate's dirty tricks bury her deeper? Stick around to find out. Maya Jackson's lungs burned as she stumbled through the pine thicket, the mob's shouts fading into a distant growl behind her. Sheriff Clifton Tate's whistle still echoed in her ears, His smug grin seared into her mind as she'd bolted from the woodshed. Branches clawed at her arms, ripping her sundress, but she didn't stop until she hit a dirt road 3 miles from the Pineview. Her pistol hung heavy in her hand, her duffel slung awkwardly over her shoulder, the laptop inside, banging against her hip. The air was thick, humid, pressing down on her like a weight, but she kept moving, her sneakers crunching gravel until she spotted a flicker of light ahead. A safe house, she thought, a CIA bolt hole she'd scouted weeks ago, tucked behind a crumbling barn. It was just a shack with peeling paint and a tin roof, but it had a lock and a signal booster. She'd make it work. She slipped inside, slamming the door and wedging a chair under the knob. The shack smelled of damp wood and old hay, a single bulb dangling from the ceiling, casting a sickly yellow glow. Maya dropped her bag, hands shaking. As she fished out her burner phone, the screen glowed, showing 2 bars, enough to call Kessler. "I'm at the safe house," she rasped when he answered, her voice rough from smoke and fear. "Tate's onto me. He sent a mob, torched the motel. He's their boss, not just some sheriff." Kessler swore under his breath, the sound sharp through the line. "That bastard's deeper than we thought. Stay put, Jackson. I'll get feds there by dawn. Tate's going down for this." She nodded, wiping sweat from her brow. "Make it fast, he's not playing." The call ended and she sank onto a rickety cot, gun resting on her lap. Dawn was 4 hours away. She could hold out that long, right? The shack's walls creaked as the wind picked up, a low moan that set her nerves on edge. She replayed Tate's words. "I own this county." He wasn't bluffing. The mob hadn't been random. It was his army, whipped into a racist frenzy, to punish her for daring to challenge his men. She'd underestimated him, assumed Harper and Rawls were the ceiling, not the floor. Now she was alone, a black woman in a town that saw her as less than human, hunted by a sheriff who wielded power like a club. But Kessler's promise steadied her. The feds would storm in, cuff Tate, and she'd be back on track. She closed, her eyes willing her heartbeat to slow, clinging to that lifeline. Hours crawled by, the bulb flickering as dawn painted the horizon pink through a cracked window. Maya's stomach growled, but she ignored it, sipping water from a canteen. Then came the rumble of engines, not the mob's ragged pickups, but something heavier, official. She peered out, relief flooding her as 3 black SUVs rolled up, their tires spitting gravel. Federal plates, no markings, just as Kessler had promised. She holstered her gun, unlocked the door, and stepped onto the porch, ready to brief them. But the men who climbed out weren't feds. They were deputies, 6 of them, badges gleaming under Tate's county seal, rifles slung across their chests. Her gut twisted as the lead one, a wiry guy with a buzz cut, smirked. "Maya Jackson? You're under arrest." She blinked, stunned, her hand hovering near her pistol. "What the hell is this? I'm CIA working a federal op. Call your superiors." The deputy's smirk widened, his eyes cold. "Assaulting officers Harper and Rawls. We've got video. You're coming with us." Before she could argue, they swarmed her, wrenching her arms behind her back, cuffs biting into her wrists. She twisted, kicking, but a rifle butt slammed into her gut, doubling her over. They dragged her to an SUV, the shack door banging shut behind her as they peeled out. Video? The gas station footage she'd sent Kessler showed them attacking her. How had they flipped it? The ride was a blur, the deputies silent except for the occasional snicker. They dumped her in a concrete cell at the county jail, a grey box reeking of bleach and piss. Her duffel was gone, confiscated, but she'd slipped a second burner phone into her bra during the chaos at the shed. She slumped against the wall, waiting for the guard to leave, then fished it out with trembling fingers. The signal was weak, but it connected to Kessler. "They've got me locked up," she hissed. "Tate framed me, says I assaulted his boys. You've got to pull strings now." Kessler's voice was tight, furious. "He's rigged the game, doctored the footage. I'm sending a lawyer, hang on." She hid the phone as footsteps approached, her mind spinning. Tate had the system in his pocket, turning her own evidence against her. Hours later, a slick-haired man in a suit strode in, flashing a CIA badge. "Marcus Reed, your counsel," he said, voice smooth as oil. "We've got a judge to spring you. Tate's stunt won't hold." Relief hit her like a wave as the cell door clanged open. She walked out, head high, past deputies who glared with naked hate. Reed handed her a new phone, whispering, "Kessler's pissed. We're hitting back hard." She smirked, tasting freedom, thinking she'd flipped the script again. The gas. Station bust, the mob. Now this. She'd survived it all. Tate's frame-up had crumbled and she was back in the fight. As they stepped outside, the morning sun blazed and she breathed deep, savoring the win. But then she saw him, Sheriff Tate, leaning against his cruiser across the lot, arms crossed, that same damn smirk plastered on his face. He tipped his hat, slow and deliberate, his eyes boring into hers. Reed ushered her to a car, muttering about next steps, but Maya's skin prickled. Why wasn't he sweating? Her release should have rattled him, yet he looked like a man holding... "Hi, sis." She slid into the passenger seat, glancing back as Tate lit a cigarette, the flame flaring in the daylight. Her win felt hollow, a trap she couldn't see yet. He'd let her go too easy, and that meant something worse was coming, something she couldn't outrun. Maya Jackson sat rigid in the CIA lawyer's sedan, the engine humming as they sped away from the county jail. Sheriff Clifton Tate's smirk lingered in her rearview vision, a dark promise glinting in the morning sun. Marcus Reed, behind the wheel rattled off plans, his polished voice cutting through her unease. "Kessler's got a team assembling. We'll bury Tate with the gas station footage, show the feds his game." Maya nodded, her fingers drumming the armrest, but her gut churned. The jail cell's bleach stink still clung to her sundress, and Tate's calm rattled her more than his mob ever had. She'd walked free, sure, but his eyes said this wasn't over. The sedan pulled into the Pineview Motel's lot, now a charred skeleton after the fire, and she winced at the blackened husk of her room. Reed handed her a key to a new unit, number 12, saying, "Lay low, we've got this." She stepped out, the gravel crunching underfoot, and headed inside, locking the door behind her. The new room was a mirror of the old, damp and dim, with a TV bolted to the wall, flickering to life as she flipped it on. A local news channel blared, and her breath caught. Her face filled the screen, a grainy still from the gas station, her sundress hiked up as Harper and Rawls pinned her. The anchor, a pinched blonde with a syrupy drawl, leaned into the camera. "Breaking news, Maya Jackson, a supposed drifter, viciously attacked two of our town's finest officers today. Sources say she's a radical with a grudge, stirring chaos in our peaceful community." Maya's jaw dropped, her fists clenching. Attacked them. The footage she'd sent Kessler showed the truth, crystal clear. How had they twisted it this fast? The anchor smirked, adding, "Witnesses claim she's a thug, unfit for civilized society." A white-hot rage surged through her, the racist label slicing deep. She grabbed her burner phone, dialing Kessler as the broadcast cut to a protest outside the motel. A crowd of white faces, maybe 50 strong, waved signs scrawled with slurs. "Go back where you came from," and "No place for her kind." Kessler picked up, his voice tight. "I see it, Jackson. Tate's cousin owns that station. They've hacked your body cam feed, edited it to hell. We're countering. Hold tight." She paced the room, the TV showing a burly man in a trucker hat spitting at her image. "She's a menace," he roared, and the crowd cheered, their hate a living thing. Maya's skin prickled. This wasn't just a smear, it was a call to arms. She'd humiliated Tate's boys, and now he'd weaponized the town's racism to paint her as the villain. The door rattled under a sudden pounding, and she flinched, grabbing her pistol. Through the peephole, she saw 3 men, faces flushed, with booze and fury, one clutching a bat. "Come out, you coward!" they yelled, kicking the frame. She braced herself, ready to fight, but a siren wailed nearby, scattering them into the dusk. Her pulse thudded as she sank onto the bed, the TV still droning. She couldn't sit here, a target for every bigot with a grudge. She needed to strike back, flip the narrative. An idea sparked, sharp and reckless. She knew a journalist in Savannah, Tia Brooks, a bulldog who'd tackled corruption before. If she could leak Tate's dirt, the real story might break through the noise. Maya slipped out the back, sticking to shadows as she hot-wired an old pickup abandoned in the lot. The engine sputtered to life, and she drove 30 miles to a gas station payphone, the night swallowing her tracks. She called Tia, voice low. "I've got proof Tate's running drugs, rigging the system. Can you run it?" Tia's response was instant. "Send it. I'll air it tonight." Maya uploaded the unedited gas station clip and a file on Tate's drug ties from her laptop, her second win tingling in her chest. She ditched the truck and hiked back, slipping into the motel as the sky lightened. By noon, Tia's report hit, a bombshell on a rival channel. Sheriff Tate linked to meth ring harasses CIA agent. Footage rolled, Harper and Rawls exposed, Tate's name in bold. He was detained, cuffed on live TV, and Maya exhaled, a grin tugging her lips. But the triumph soured fast. Hours later, sirens screamed again, not for her this time. She flipped the TV back on, and her heart sank. Tia's studio was a smoking ruin, flames licking the sky as a reporter stammered, "Arson suspected after a damning exposé." The camera panned to a crowd, the same protesters from earlier, chanting Tate's name like a hero. "She lied!" they screamed, hurling rocks at firefighters. Tia was gone, vanished, no word on her fate. Maya's stomach twisted. Her leak had hit hard, but Tate's retaliation hit harder. Then the news ticker flashed. Sheriff Tate released. Evidence under review. He strode out of the station, free again, his grin wider than ever as he faced the cameras. That agent's a fraud. She'll pay for her lies. Maya's hands shook as she clutched the phone, dialing Kessler again. "Tia's studio's gone. Tate's out. What the hell happened?" His silence stretched. Then he growled. "He's got pull. Deeper than we thought." They torched it to "Kill the story. Stay sharp." The line cut and she stared at the screen, Tate's voice echoing. "She'll pay." The crowd outside swelled, their chants now a war cry, signs swapped for torches. Her counterattack had backfired, lighting a match under a town already primed to burn. She'd thought she'd regained control, but Tate had turned her weapon into his, and the cost was rising. The motel walls closed in, the air thick with smoke from a fire she'd unwittingly fed. "Now, let's get your take. Comment number 1 if you think Maya should have kept that leak quiet, or number 2 if you'd have risked it too. If this racist smear's got you boiling, hit like and subscribe to catch every twist of this fight. Was Tia's fate a shock, or did you see Tate's claws coming? Next up, how far will he go to break Maya? And can she protect what's left? Stay tuned for the reckoning. Maya Jackson stood frozen in the Pineview Motel's smoky room, the TV's glow casting jagged shadows across her face as Sheriff Clifton Tate's taunt, "She'll pay," looped in her mind. The torched studio, Tia's disappearance, and the mob's escalating fury outside were a gut punch, but a new dread clawed at her. Her burner phone buzzed, the screen flashing an unknown Atlanta number. She answered, her voice a rasp. "Who's this?" A shaky sob crackled through. "Maya, it's Lena. They're after me." Her sister's panic hit like a freight train. "They posted my address online, called me your niggerkin. I'm scared." Maya's blood ran cold, the racist slur echoing the mob's hate. Tate wasn't just coming for her. He was striking deeper. She grabbed her duffel, the pistol's weight a grim comfort, and bolted from the motel. The night swallowed her as she hotwired another junker from the lot, an old Chevy with a coughing engine. Atlanta was 300 miles north, a 4-hour haul if she floored it. She did, the speedometer climbing past 90, tires screaming on the empty highway. Her mind raced faster than the car. Lena, her baby sister, 28, and a nurse had nothing to do with this. They'd grown up dodging cops in a crumbling neighborhood, promising each other a way out. Maya had made it, but now her fight had dragged Lena into the crosshairs. She dialed Kessler mid-drive, the phone wedged against her shoulder. "Tate's targeting my sister," she snapped. "Get her out now." He swore, promising a team, but the line cut as she hit a dead zone. The city skyline loomed at 2 a.m., sodium lights smearing the windshield. Lena's apartment sat in a quiet suburb, a brick box with peeling trim. Maya parked a block away, scanning the shadows. A black SUV idled across the street, its engine off, windows dark. Her gut screamed trouble, but she crept closer, pistol drawn. She texted Lena, "Back door now." Seconds later, her sister slipped out, a duffel slung over her scrubs, eyes wide with terror. "They've been circling all night," Lena whispered, clutching Maya's arm. "Said they'd make you pay through me." Maya hustled her to the Chevy, relief flickering as they peeled out. She knew a safe house 2 hours east, an old farm off the grid. They'd hole up there, wait for Kessler's team. She'd saved her, hadn't she? The highway stretched dark and endless, Lena's breathing steadying beside her. Maya kept one eye on the rear view, the other on the road. At a gas station 50 miles out, she pulled over to refuel, the night still as death. Lena stepped out to stretch, and Maya's phone buzzed again. Kessler this time. "Team's en route," he said. "ETA 30 minutes. She exhaled, leaning against the pump, the nozzle clicking as it filled the tank. They'd made it. She'd outrun Tate's reach, protected what mattered most. But then, headlights flared behind her, a pickup roaring into the lot, its bed packed, with men in hoods. Her heart stopped as one lobbed a Molotov cocktail, the bottle arcing straight for the Chevy. The explosion rocked the night, flames swallowing the car in a blinding roar. Maya dove, tackling Lena to the asphalt as glass rained down. Screams split the air, her sister's and her own, as the attackers leapt from the truck, crowbars gleaming. "That's for your uppity sister," one bellowed, slashing at Lena's. Honda parked nearby, scrawling "nigger lover" in red paint across the hood. Maya fired twice, dropping one, scattering the rest, but the fire raged, licking toward the safe-house plan in her mind. She dragged Lena away, her sister's arm, blistered from a stray ember, tears streaking her face. "I can't lose you," Lena sobbed, and Maya's chest cracked open, guilt and rage warring inside her. They staggered to a ditch, the flames a beacon behind them, and Maya's phone buzzed again, an unknown number. She answered, dread pooling. Tate's voice slithered through, thick with glee. "Pretty little sister, huh? Next time she's ashes, you don't mess with my town." The line died, and Maya's hands shook, cradling Lena as sirens wailed in the distance. Kessler's team arrived, a black van disgorging agents who doused the fire and hustled them into safety. Lena clung to her, burned but alive, and Maya's jaw set hard. She'd saved her sister, her third win, but Tate's laugh told her it was a hollow one. He'd hit her where it hurt most, and he wasn't done. The safe house was a weathered farmhouse, its windows boarded a mile off a dirt road. Agents posted up outside as Maya settled Lena on a dusty couch, wrapping her burns with a med kit. "You're safe now," she lied, her voice steady for Lena's. "Saiki?" But her mind churned. Tate had doxed Lena, turned her into bait and nearly burned her alive, all because Maya had dared to fight back. The racism wasn't just words now, it was fire, steel and blood, a vendetta against her very existence. She stepped onto the porch, staring into the night, her pistol cold against her thigh. She'd vowed revenge, but at what cost? Tate had escalated beyond the mob, beyond the smear into her family, and she'd barely scraped by. What would he take next? The farmhouse safe house creaked under a grey dawn, its boarded windows rattling as a cold wind swept across the Georgia fields. Maya Jackson stood over her sister Lena, who slept fitfully on the couch, her bandaged arm a stark reminder of Tate's arson. The CIA agents outside patrolled in silence, their rifles glinting in the weak light, but Maya's nerves buzzed like live wires. Sheriff Clifton Tate's threat, "Next time she's ashes," looped in her skull, a promise of more. De pain. She'd saved Lena barely, but the cost was etched in her sister's whimpers, in the charred wreckage of their escape. Her burner phone vibrated on the rickety table, Kessler's name flashing. She snatched it, her voice low. "Tell me you've got something." His gravelly tone cut through. "Big guns, Jackson. CIA task forces rolling in. Tate's empires. About to crack." Relief flickered, fragile but real. She stepped onto the porch, the air sharp with dew, and watched 3 black SUVs crest the horizon, dust billowing behind them. The lead agent, a wiry woman named Carter, climbed out, her buzz cut and steely gaze screaming authority. "Agent Jackson," Carter said, shaking her hand. "We've got warrants, intel, the works. Tate's mansion's our target, drug labs, payoffs, it's all there." Maya's jaw tightened, a grim smile tugging her lips. This was it, the hammer. To smash Tate's throne. She briefed Carter on the gas station, the mob, the smear, Lena's attack, every racist blow he'd landed. Carter nodded, her team fanning out to prep. By noon they rolled out, Maya riding shotgun in Carter's SUV, adrenaline surging. Tate's mansion sprawled on a hill 10 miles west, a gaudy pile of white columns and red brick, guarded by pines and a wrought iron gate. The task force hit it like a storm, battering rams, splintering the oak doors, agents swarming with shouted commands. Maya kicked in a side entrance, pistol drawn, and found herself in a plush study, mahogany shelves stuffed with ledgers. She ripped one open, her eyes scanning rows of numbers, meth shipments, bribe totals, names of dirty cops. Jackpot. Upstairs, Carter's team hauled out crates of white powder, bags of cash, and hard drives, while choppers buzzed overhead, broadcasting the raid live. Tate stumbled out in cuffs, his face purple with rage, snarling slurs at the black agents. "You'll never take me," he spat, but the cameras caught it all. Maya watched from the lawn, her third win unfolding on every screen in Georgia, okay. Exhaled, the tension in her shoulders easing as Tate was shoved into a van. The news ticker flashed. "Sheriff Tate arrested in massive drug bust." Carter clapped her shoulder. "Solid work, Jackson, he's done." Maya nodded, the victory tasting sweet, sharp, like justice finally biting back. She pictured Lena, safe, the town waking up, Tate's racist grip loosening. The team swept the mansion for hours, cataloging evidence under the midday sun, and Maya dared to believe it was over. She climbed into an SUV, heading back to the safe house, the radio, crackling with updates, public outrage, calls for reform. She closed her eyes, letting the hum of the engine lull her. Had she finally broken him? But the peace shattered 3 hours later. She'd barely stepped into the farmhouse, kissing Lena's forehead, when her phone buzzed with Kessler's panicked voice. "Tate's out. Lawyer pulled strings, evidence mishandled. Get out now." Her stomach dropped, the room spinning. Out? She flipped on the TV, and there he was, strutting from the jail, his smirk ablade. "Planted lies," he told reporters. "That black wannabe hero's finished." Before she could process it, a deafening boom shook the earth. She ran outside, smoke rising from the horizon where the task force base sat 5 miles away. Carter's voice crackled over a radio, frantic. "Bomb, 2 agents down!" Then static. Maya's knees buckled, the air thick with ash and betrayal. Lena grabbed her arm, eyes wide. "What's happening?" Maya couldn't answer, her ears ringing as the radio hissed back to life. Tate's voice cut through, hijacked and gleeful. "You're next, princess. Should have stayed in your lane." The line died and Maya's hands shook, rage boiling over. 2 agents dead, her team crippled, and Tate free, mocking her race like a trophy. The mansion raid, her win, had been a mirage, a setup for this gut punch. She'd thought the feds would end it, but Tate's reach stretched beyond bars, his racism a weapon that kept swinging. She pulled Lena close, whispering, "We're moving," as helicopters buzzed overhead searching for survivors. The safe house felt like a trap now, its walls too thin against Tate's wrath. Maya packed their gear, her mind racing. He'd bombed her back up, turned her triumph to rubble, and danced away untouched. The agent's screams echoed in her head, their blood on her hands because she'd dared to fight. She'd underestimated him again, assumed the system would hold, but it bent for him, not her. As they slipped into the night, Lena trembling beside her, Maya's resolve hardened. Tate wanted her broken, but she'd burn his world down first. Yet his laugh lingered, a promise of worse to come. How deep did his power run? Now let's hear your voice. Comment number 1, if you'd have trusted the feds like Maya, or number 2, if you'd have seen Tate's escape coming a mile away. If this bombing's got your blood pumping, hit like and subscribe to ride this roller coaster to the end. Was Tate's counterstrike a shock, or did his smirk tip you off? Next up, will Maya's fight turn inward, or can she claw back from this abyss? Don't miss what's brewing. The night swallowed Maya Jackson and her sister Lena as they fled the farmhouse safe house. The distant plume of smoke from the bombed CIA task force base a grim marker on the horizon. The old Chevy's engine sputtered, its headlights carving, a shaky path through Georgia's backroads. Lena's bandaged arm rested limp in her lap, her breath shallow with shock, while Maya gripped the wheel, her knuckles whitening. Sheriff Clifton Tate's voice, "You're next, princess. rang in her ears, a taunt laced with racist venom that fueled her fury. 2 agents dead, her team shattered, and Tate free again, his bomb a middle finger to her fight. She'd thought the feds were her lifeline, but now she doubted everything. Her burner phone buzzed, Kessler's number flashing. She answered, voice tight. What now? His gravelly tone was clipped, unnaturally sharp. Stand down, Jackson. That's an order. Political heat's too high. Tate's got friends in D.C. pulling strings. We're pausing the op. Maya's stomach lurched, the words a punch. Stand down. He just killed our people. Lena's burned. I'm hunted and you're bailing. Kessler sighed, heavy and final. It's bigger than you. Stay off grid. Let it cool. That's all I've got. The line went dead and she hurled the phone against the dash, plastic cracking. Lena flinched, whispering, What's wrong? Maya's jaw clenched. They're abandoning us. She'd trusted Kessler, her handler of 6 years, but his tone screamed cowardice, or worse. Was he compromised? They ditched the Chevy in a ditch 20 miles out, hiking to an abandoned grain silo she'd scoped as a fallback. The steel cylinder loomed in the dark, rusted and hollow, its ladder creaking as they climbed inside. Lena collapsed on a tarp, exhaustion carving lines in her face, while Maya set up a perimeter with tripwires from her duffel. She pulled out her laptop, its battery low, and hacked into a CIA back channel, her fingers flying. Kessler's files popped up and her breath caught. Encrypted emails dated last week showed payments from an offshore account linked to Tate's cousin, the news station owner. Son of a bitch, she muttered, her own handler, bribed to choke her support. The betrayal cut deeper than Tate's bombs. A knife in her spine from the one man she'd relied on. Alone now, truly alone, she needed leverage. Tate's empire thrived on secrets, and she'd find them. She remembered a warehouse 10 miles north, a drug hub she'd flagged during recon. If she could steal proof of his payoffs, she might force the CIA's hand. She kissed Lena's forehead, whispering, Stay here, rest. I'll be back by dawn. Lena grabbed her wrist, eyes wet. Don't leave me. Maya forced a smile. I've got this. She slipped out, the night cloaking her as she hot-wired a rust bucket tractor from a nearby field, rumbling toward the warehouse under a moonless sky. Her sundress was tattered now, stained with soot and blood, but her resolve burned hotter than ever. The warehouse squatted behind a chain-link fence, a concrete box with flickering security lights. Maya cut the tractor's engine a half-mile out, creeping through tall grass, her pistol ready. She scaled the fence, dropping silently into the yard, and jimmied a side door with a hairpin. Inside, the air stank of chemicals, crates stacked, high with meth bricks. She found a back office, its desk littered with papers, bank slips, names, dates, Tate's payoffs to cops, judges, even feds, all in black and white. She snapped photos with her phone, her fourth win pulsing in her chest. This was dynamite, enough to blow his network wide open. She uploaded the files to a dark web Dropbox, emailing the link to every major news outlet she could ping, her breath hitching with each send. The story broke by morning, screens across the country lighting up with headlines, Sheriff Tate's corruption exposed in leaked docs. She watched it spread from a diner's TV 30 miles away, sipping stale coffee as Lena slept in a booth. Tate's face flashed, grim and silent as pundits raged. Maya smirked, thinking she'd clawed back control. But the diner's door swung open, and a man in a suit strode in, his CIA badge gleaming. Agent Jackson, he said, voice flat. You're suspended, effective now. Rogue actions leaking classified intel. Her coffee mug slipped, shattering on the floor. What? She choked. He handed her a letter, signed by Kessler, branding her a loose cannon. Turn in your gear, you're done. Before she could argue, tires squealed outside, and the windows exploded in a hail of gunfire. She tackled Lena under the table as a hit squad burst in, 6 men in tactical vests shouting, Where's the black bitch? Bullets tore through the diner, glass and wood splintering, the racist slur a whip crack in the chaos. Maya fired back, dropping 2, her training kicking in as she dragged Lena toward the kitchen. Blood streaked her arm from a graze, but she pushed through, shoving Lena out a back door. They ran, bullets pinging off dumpsters, until they hit a drainage culvert, collapsing in the mud. Her leak had trended, sure, but Tate had flipped it, framing her as a traitor with Kessler's help. The CIA cut her loose, and now his killers were closing in. She clutched Lena, panting, the culvert's damp chill seeping into her bones. The suspension letter crinkled in her pocket, a death sentence in ink. Tate's voice from the bomb replayed, "You're next." He'd turned her own agency against her, his racism a megaphone shouting she didn't belong. She'd stolen his, secrets thought she'd won, but this was his checkmate, a hit squad to finish what the bomb started. Lena's sobs shook her, and Maya's eyes hardened. She was bloodied, betrayed, but not broken. Tate wanted her isolated? She'd fight dirty. Now no rules, no backup. What else could he take when she had nothing left? The drainage culvert's muddy water soaked Maya Jackson's knees as she crouched beside Lena, the echo of gunfire fading into the Georgia night. Her arm throbbed from the graze, blood mixing with grime, but her mind burned hotter than the pain. Sheriff Clifton Tate had turned her leak into a noose, framing her as a rogue CIA agent, and Kessler's betrayal had unleashed a hit squad that nearly ended them in the diner. Lena's quiet sobs cut through the silence, her bandaged arm trembling against Maya's side. The suspension letter, crumpled in her pocket, felt like a death warrant, but she wouldn't break. Tate wanted her isolated, hunted, erased. She'd hit him where it hurt most. His pride, his power, his public mask. She wiped mud from her face, whispering, "We're not done yet," and pulled Lena to her feet, eyes scanning the dark for an out. They stumbled through the culvert, emerging near a truck stop 15 miles from the diner's wreckage. Maya hot-wired a battered van, its engine coughing as she drove toward a plan forming in her gut. Tate thrived on control, his racist empire built on fear, but she'd seen a town hall scheduled tonight, a live broadcast where he'd play the victim. If she could hack it, air his crimes to thousands, she might spark a revolt. She parked behind a gas station, using her laptop's last juice to tap a CIA satellite feed. Lena watched, pale and shaky, as Maya's fingers danced over the keys, cracking the broadcast's signal. "What are you doing?" Lena asked, voice small. "Ending him," Maya replied, uploading the warehouse files, the gas station clip, every shred of dirt she'd stolen. The town hall loomed in a civic center 20 miles south, a brick box packed with Tate's loyalists. Maya slipped in through a service door, Lena hidden in the van with a burner phone. The crowd buzzed inside, a sea of white faces chanting Tate's name as he took the stage, his uniform crisp despite the chaos he'd sown. "That agent's a liar," he bellowed, fist pounding the podium. "She framed me, but I'm still here." The feed cut and Maya's hack hit, her fifth win exploding across the screen. His voice swapped for hers, a pre-recorded confession. "Tate runs drugs, kills feds, targets me because I'm black and won't bow." The warehouse docs flashed, payoffs in bold, followed by the gas station footage, unedited and raw. Gasps rippled through the room, then shouts, fists rising. Chaos erupted. A burly man in a plaid shirt lunged at Tate, screaming, "You sold us out!" Others joined, chairs toppled and fists flew as the crowd turned. Maya watched from the wings, heart pounding, as deputies dragged Tate off stage, his face bloodied, cuffs snapping on. The broadcast beamed it live, thousands seeing his fall, phones lighting up with outrage. She slipped out, adrenaline surging, thinking she'd flipped the script. Back in the van, Lena hugged her, tears streaming. "Did it work?" Maya nodded, a grin breaking through. "They've got him now." She drove them to an abandoned mill 30 miles east, its rusted gears groaning in the wind, a hideout to catch their breath. The news blared on a stolen radio. "Tate arrested amid riot." She exhaled, daring to hope. Had she finally cracked his armor? But dawn brought a nightmare. The radio crackled, a reporter's voice trembling. Violence erupts after Tate's arrest. Militia storms town targeting minorities in revenge. Maya's stomach dropped as footage streamed online, her phone shaking in her hand. Men in camo, Tate's loyalists, rampaged through streets, lynching her supporters in a racist frenzy. A black shopkeeper hung from a lamppost, a sign reading, "Her lies," pinned to his chest. A Latina woman's store burned, her screams drowned by cheers. The militia broadcast it live, their leader, a scarred thug, snarling, "This is for Tate cleaning up that black bitch's mess." Maya's breath hitched, guilt clawing her throat. Her exposure had sparked this, her win, a match to a powder keg. Tate's face flashed next, not in cuffs but free, his grin a blade on the screen. "She thought she'd win," he said, voice dripping venom. "Now she'll hunt her last." He'd slipped custody, his militia springing him, and turned her, triumph into a bloodbath. The mill's walls closed in as Lena clutched her, sobbing, "This is because of us?" Maya's fists balled, rage and despair warring. She'd hacked the town hall, thought she'd rallied the people, but Tate twisted it, his racism a wildfire she couldn't douse. The radio cut to a militia vow, "We're coming for her." Her supporters dangled from ropes, their deaths a message etched in hate, and she realized she'd misjudged the beast. What had she unleashed? She reloaded her pistol, the click loud in the mill's silence, her mind racing. Tate's escape wasn't just luck. He had an army, a network she'd barely scratched. Her leak had hit hard, but he'd hit harder, turning. Her fight into a massacre. She'd thought public outrage would cage him, but it freed his worst instincts, and now the body count was hers to bear. Lena's eyes begged for safety, but Maya knew they couldn't run forever. Tate wanted her to see this, to break under the weight. She wouldn't. She'd fight even if it killed her. But as the mill's shadows deepened, his threat loomed. How much more could she lose? Now let's get your pulse racing. Comment number 1, if you'd have hacked that broadcast like Maya, or number 2, if you think she should have laid low instead. If this militia's racist rampage has you fired up, smash like and subscribe for the next blow in this saga. Did Tate's escape blindside you, or was his venom too deep to cage? Coming up, will Maya dodge his next trap, or is she already snared? Brace yourself for the fallout. The abandoned mill's rusted walls groaned under a slate-grey sky as Maya Jackson reloaded her pistol, the metallic clicks sharp against the hum of distant sirens. Lena huddled nearby, her bandaged arm trembling, eyes hollow from the news of Tate's militia lynching their supporters. Sheriff Clifton Tate's escape and the racist massacre that followed her town hall hack weighed on Maya like a stone, each death a jab at her resolve. Her phone buzzed, the screen cracked but glowing, with a text from an unknown number. "Lena's hurt. Need you at old factory 5 miles north. Hurry!" Her gut screamed trap, but Lena's gasp beside her, real raw, clashed with the message. Was it a lie to lure her out? She dialed the number, but it rang dead. Tate's game. She knew it, yet the slim chance it was true gnawed at her. "Lena, stay here," Maya said, voice firm despite the quake in her chest. "Lock the door, don't move." Lena grabbed her wrist, tears spilling. "Don't go, it's him." Maya pried her off, kissing her forehead. "I'll be back, promise." She slipped out, the mill's shadows swallowing her as she hot-wired. A dirt bike from a shed, its engine snarling to life. The factory was a derelict husk 5 miles through pine-choked trails, its smokestacks jagged against the dusk. She gunned the bike, wind tearing at her tattered sundress, every mile a gamble. If Lena was safe here, Tate wanted Maya alone, exposed. Her pistol bounced against her thigh, a slim shield against whatever waited. The factory loomed, a concrete tomb ringed by shattered windows, its yard littered with rusted barrels. She ditched the bike behind a dumpster, creeping closer, senses razor-sharp. The air stank of oil and rot, silence pressing down until a faint whimper broke it. Lena. She edged inside, gun raised, and found nothing but echoes bouncing off cracked walls. Then boots scuffed behind her and she spun, too late. 5 men in militia gear materialized, faces masked, crowbars and chains in hand. "Got her!" one barked, lunging. Tate's trap snapped shut, no Lena, just his goons. She fired, dropping one, but a chain lashed her wrist, sending the pistol skittering. They swarmed, fists slamming her ribs, a knee cracking her jaw. "Black. Trash thinks she's tough," they jeered. Their racism a venomous thread in every blow. They dragged her, bloodied and gasping, to a loading dock, its floor pocked with grease stains. A pit yawned below, 10 feet deep, lined with jagged rebar. "Tate says hi," the leader sneered, shoving her over the edge. She hit the bottom hard, ankle twisting, a scream ripping free as pain exploded up her leg. They laughed, tossing dirt, And bottles down, taunting, "Crawl out, subhuman." Her vision blurred, but she clawed at the walls, fingers scraping concrete, finding a shard of glass from a shattered beer bottle. Rage surged, drowning the agony. She'd die fighting, not begging. When a thug leaned over, gloating, she lunged, slashing his throat with the shard. He toppled in, gurgling, and she climbed his body, hauling herself out, her sixth win etched in his blood. The others froze, stunned, and she bolted, limping through the factory's maze, their shouts echoing behind her. Her ankles screamed, but she pushed on, weaving past rusted machinery, breath ragged. She hit an exit, tumbling into the yard as dusk deepened, thinking she'd slipped their grasp. But a low rumble shook the ground, and her heart sank. Tate stepped from a truck, 50 yards off, his silhouette a nightmare against the fading light. "Told you, princess," he called, voice thick with glee. He raised a detonator and the factory erupted, a fireball swallowing the building in a deafening roar. The blast hurled her forward, heat searing her back, shrapnel slicing her arms. As she crashed into a ditch, alive but barely. She lay there, ears ringing, blood pooling beneath her, the militia's cheers a distant hum. Tate's boots crunched closer, his shadow looming as he peered down, smirking. "Thought you'd outsmart me. Lesson learned." He spat, the glob, landing inches from her face, and turned away, assuming her dead. His truck roared off, leaving her in the dirt, the factory's wreckage smoldering behind her. She coughed, lungs burning, and rolled onto her side, every inch of her screaming. She'd escaped, killed one, survived the blast, but it was no victory. Tate thought he'd finished her, and that gave her a sliver of edge, a ghost he'd underestimate. Her fingers dug into the mud, pulling her upright, the shard still clutched in her hand, slick with blood. Lena waited at the mill, alone, vulnerable, and Maya's failure to spot the trap had nearly cost her everything. Tate's racism wasn't just words or fists now, it was explosions, a willingness to bury her alive for daring to defy him. Her win was survival, nothing more, and it hung by a thread. She staggered toward the bike, its frame bent but runnable, and gunned it back to the mill, Payne her only passenger. Tate thought her dead, but she'd rise again, a wraith with nothing left to lose. How much longer could she cheat his noose? Maya Jackson stumbled through the Georgia woods, the bent dirt bike wheezing beneath her, as smoke from the factory blast clung to her shredded sundress. Blood crusted her arms, her twisted ankle throbbed, and every breath rasped like sandpaper. But Sheriff Clifton Tate's smug lesson learned fueled her stagger forward. He thought her dead, a broken toy in that ditch, and that mistake was her lifeline. The mill loomed ahead, its silhouette a jagged promise of Lena, but her legs buckled 10 yards out, the bike tipping into the dirt. She crawled, glass shard still gripped, until a shadow loomed over her, a hand yanking her up. "Easy," a deep voice said, not Tate's, but rough with grit. She squinted, vision swimming, at a black man in a faded jacket, his eyes sharp with recognition. "You're that agent." He hauled her inside the mill where Lena leapt up, sobbing, "Maya!" The man, Jamal Carter, barred the door, his stance ex-cop, his Glock holstered but ready. "Saw the factory go up," he said, tossing her a water bottle. "I'm ex-sheriff's deputy. Quit when Tate turned it rotten. Been watching him since." Maya gulped the water, wincing as Lena dabbed her cuts with a rag. "So he thinks I'm gone," she croaked. "We can use that." Jamal nodded, his jaw tight. "He's got a bunker 2 miles east. Drugs, tapes, his whole damn empire. I'll get you in." An ally unasked for, forged in shared hate for Tate's reign. She tested her ankle, pain flaring, but stood, resolve hardening. Together they'd hit him blind. Jamal drove them in his pickup, a rust-eaten beast with no plates, to a ridge overlooking the bunker, a concrete slab buried in pines. Night cloaked their descent, Maya limping beside him, Lena safe in the truck with a burner phone. Jamal cut a padlock with bolt cutters, whispering, "He records everything, brags about it." Inside, the air stank of mold and diesel, shelves stuffed with VHS tapes and hard drives. Maya rifled through, finding one labeled Payoffs 24. She played it on a dusty VCR, Tate's voice crackling, "Keep the cash flowing, boys, or she fries." Her face flashed on screen, the gas station clip, proof he'd targeted her from day one. She bagged it, along with ledgers and a drive, her 7th win pulsing as Jamal grinned. This'll bury him. They uploaded it all from a library. Wi-Fi 15 miles away, Maya's fingers trembling as she hit send to every federal desk she could ping. By dawn, the news erupted. Tate's secret tapes leak, drug empire exposed. Clips aired, his voice damning him, feds vowing action. She watched from a diner, Jamal sipping coffee beside her, Lena nibbling toast. Tate was arrested again, this time on live TV, his mansion raided anew, his face a mask of fury. "That black traitor set me up," he snarled, cuffs glinting. Maya dared to breathe, her alliance with Jamal paying off. The mill's shadows faded from her mind, replaced by a flicker of hope. Had they finally pinned him? But dusk brought the hammer. Jamal's phone rang, his sister's voice shrieking, "They're here," before cutting to static. He paled, bolting for the truck, Maya and Lena trailing. They roared 40 miles to his family's trailer, a tin box off a dirt road, and found it engulfed in flames. Militiamen circled, laughing. "Traitors kin pay too." Jamal charged, gun blazing, dropping two, but a shotgun blast tore his leg, felling him. Maya fired back, shielding Lena as Tate's voice crackled over a megaphone. From a hill. "Thought you'd hide, princess? Your boy's family's just the start." The trailer collapsed, his sister and nephew's screams swallowed by the blaze, their bodies ash before Jamal's eyes. He roared, crawling toward the fire, blood pooling. But Maya dragged him back, bullets whizzing past. Tate strode into view, free again, his militia parting like a sea. "Escaped custody," he sneered. "How you and your nigger pal thought you'd win? Watch 'em burn." The racism dripped, a noose tightening, as he aimed a pistol at Jamal's head. Maya tackled him aside, the shot grazing her shoulder, and hauled them into the woods, Lena sobbing. Behind, they hid in a gully, Jamal's wails cutting the night, his family gone because he dared help her. Her leak had sparked federal outrage, sure, but Tate slipped every net, his vengeance a wildfire she couldn't quench. The gully's damp earth soaked her as she bandaged Jamal's leg, his face gray with shock. Lena clutched her, whispering, "Why won't he stop?" Maya had no answer, the tape's triumph crumbling in her hands. Tate's arrest had been a feint, his militia a sledgehammer smashing her allies' world. She'd thought Jamal's intel would end it, but he'd paid. In blood, his loss a mirror to her own. Her shoulder bled, her ankle screamed, but her rage outburned it all. Tate wanted her to see this, to drown in guilt, but she'd use it. She'd lost Kessler, her team, now Jamal's kin, yet she'd fight on, a ghost he couldn't kill. What could she strike next when he held every card? The gully's damp chill seeped into Maya Jackson's bones as she crouched beside Jamal and Lena, the distant glow of his family's burning trailer a scar on the Georgia night. Sheriff Clifton Tate's taunt, "Watch 'em burn," echoed, his pistol shot still stinging her shoulder, a graze that bled into her tattered sundress. Jamal's leg oozed through the bandage, his face ashen with grief, while Lena's quiet sobs pierced the silence. Tate had slipped custody again, his militia torching Jamal's kin for daring to help her, a racist vendetta that spared nothing. She'd leaked his tapes, thought she'd caged him, but he'd turned it into fuel for this slaughter. Her 8th win demanded blood, and she'd give it. She whispered to Jamal, "We end this," her voice steel despite the ache. He nodded, eyes hollow but hard, and they planned. A quarry 10 miles west, a gravel pit ringed by cliffs, became her trap. She'd lure Tate there, rig it to blow, bury him in his own arrogance. Jamal scavenged explosives from an old shed, his cop days yielding tricks, while Maya hot-wired a pickup to haul them. Lena stayed back, hidden in the gully with a burner. Phone, her tear-streaked face begging Maya to return. The drive was silent, the quarry's dust swirling under a moonless sky as they planted charges along the rim, wiring them to a remote. Maya sent Tate a bait text from a stolen phone. "Meet me, quarry, midnight, finish it." He'd bite, she knew, his pride too swollen to resist. At 11:50, she and Jamal took positions, her atop a crane, him in a ditch, both armed and ready. Midnight struck and Tate rolled in, his truck flanked by 4 militia rigs, 10 men spilling out with rifles and chains. He swaggered forward, pistol gleaming, his voice a bellow. "Come out, princess, time to pay for defying your betters." The racism dripped, a whip crack in the still air, and Maya's jaw tightened. She dropped from the crane, landing 10 yards off, gun raised. "Right here," she spat, firing first, a bullet tearing through his driver's chest. Chaos erupted, his men charging as Jamal opened up from the ditch, dropping 2 more. Maya ducked behind a boulder, bullets pinging off stone, her ankle, screaming but ignored. She aimed, clipped Tate's arm, and he roared, blood soaking his sleeve. The fight turned brutal, hand to hand in the dust. A militia thug tackled her, his fist cracking her ribs, but she drove her knee up, snapping his nose, then shot him point blank. Jamal wrestled another, his leg buckling, but he choked the man out with a chain. Tate lunged, a knife flashing, and slashed her thigh, a hot line of pain. She stumbled, blood pooling, but grabbed his wrist, twisting until the blade clattered free. "You're done," she hissed, slamming her pistol's butt into his temple. He dropped, dazed, and she kicked him back, panting. His men faltered. 5 down, the rest hesitating. She seized the moment, hitting the detonator. The quarry rim exploded, rocks raining, crushing 2 more as the ground shook. Tate sprawled in the rubble, pinned, and she stood over him, gun trembling. Her 8th win loomed, raw and real. She staggered away, blood dripping, Jamal limping beside her. The militia scattered, their leader broken, the quarry a tomb of dust and flame. She'd ended it, hadn't she? They reached the pickup, her vision blurring, and drove off, the night swallowing the wreckage. Her thigh pulsed, her ribs ached, but Tate was down, his empire cracked. She pictured Lena safe, Jamal avenged, the tape's truth finally sticking. The adrenaline faded, her breath steadying as they hit a back road, the pickup's rumble a lifeline. She'd fought tooth and nail, turned his trap into hers, and walked away. Or so she thought, her eyes heavy, the pain a dull roar. But then a whir pierced the silence, a helicopter rising from the quarry's haze, its blades slicing the dark. Maya's heart stopped as it hovered, spotlights pinning the truck, Tate's silhouette stark in the cockpit window. Alive, grinning, his arm bandaged but free, rescued by a private militia chopper she hadn't seen coming. "You don't get it, do you?" His voice boomed over a speaker, thick with venom. "I'm untouchable." Before she could swerve, a rocket streaked down, slamming the pickup's rear. The blast flipped it, metal crumpling as she and Jamal tumbled out, crashing into a ditch. Flames roared, shrapnel biting her legs, and she crawled, blood slicking her hands, Jamal groaning beside her. The chopper circled, Tate's laugh a dagger in the night. "Should have known your place, black bitch," he shouted, the slur a final twist of the knife. He fired again, a missile shredding the road ahead, leaving her stranded, the truck a pyre. She dragged Jamal behind a rock, her body screaming as the chopper hovered, taunting. He'd survived her trap, turned it back, his racism a banner he'd never lower. She'd buried him in rubble, thought she'd won, but he rose like a demon, his resources endless, her victory ash. The quarry faded in the distance, her blood pooling, Jamal fading, and Lena miles off, alone. How had he slipped her grasp again? Maya Jackson lay battered in the ditch, the Georgia night thick with the acrid stench of burning rubber and blood. The quarry's dust still swirled, a graveyard where she'd buried Sheriff Clifton Tate, only for his helicopter to claw him back, rocket blasting her pickup into a twisted heap. Her thigh oozed from his knife, her shoulder stung from the graze, and shrapnel peppered her legs. But she dragged Jamal's limp form behind a rock, his pulse faint under her trembling fingers. Lena waited miles away, alone, and Tate's taunt, "Should have known your place," rang like a death knell. He hovered above, untouchable, his malicious spotlight pinning her in the dark. She'd fought him to a standstill, thought she'd won, but he'd risen again, a hydra with endless heads. Her body screamed, yet her mind sharpened, one last play flickering to life. She fumbled for her cracked phone, its screen spider-webbed, but glowing and hit record, blood smearing the glass. "This is Agent Maya Jackson," she rasped, voice raw but steady. "Tate's a drug lord, a killer, rigged the system with racism to bury me. Warehouse tapes, mansion raids, it's all..." "True," He bombed feds, burned my sister's life, lynched a town. Don't let him win. She uploaded it to a dark web Dropbox, pinging every news desk, every fed she'd ever known. Her 9th win, a desperate Hail Mary. The chopper's roar grew louder, Tate's silhouette looming as she staggered up, dragging Jamal toward a creek bed, her sundress a rag of blood and soot. She'd expose him, even if it killed her. The video hit airwaves by dawn, screens blazing with her bruised face, her words a thunderclap. Sheriff Tate's empire crumbles, headlines screamed, clips of his taped confessions looping beside. Her plea. Protests flared, feds swarmed Georgia, his mansion sealed, his accounts frozen. Maya collapsed in the creek, Jamal beside her, water soaking their wounds as sirens wailed in the distance. She smiled, faint and fleeting, her breath shallow. The world saw him now, cornered, his racist reign cracking under her final blow. Choppers buzzed, not his this time, but federal, their lights sweeping the quarry's ruin. She'd done it, hadn't she? Her eyes fluttered shut, exhaustion claiming her, the creek's cold a mercy against her pain. But then boots splashed nearby, and her lids snapped open, too late. Shadows loomed, not feds, but Tate's militia, 6 men in black dragging her from the water. Her phone slipped free, sinking as they hauled her up, Jamal groaning behind. Tate stepped forward, alive, his arm in a sling but his grin a blade. "Nice try, princess," he sneered, snatching her chin. "Thought you'd play martyr." She spat blood in his face, weak but defiant, and he laughed, wiping it off. "You're a terrorist now. That video? My spin." He waved a tablet, her confession twisted, edited to paint her as a rogue planting lies, a black radical who'd bombed the feds herself. News tickers shifted. Agent Jackson, terror threat confirmed. Her stomach plummeted, the world flipping. Upside down. He'd framed her, turned her truth into his weapon, his racism a megaphone drowning her out. The militia zip-tied her wrists, Jamal's too, and dragged them to a black van, its doors slamming like a coffin lid. Tate leaned close, breath hot with tobacco. "You defied your betters and now you rot." The van roared off, hours blurring as they crossed borders, jungle heat seeping through the metal. She woke in a black site cell, a concrete box with no windows. Jamal gone, her injuries untreated. Chains bit her wrists and a guard smirked through the bars, tossing her a rag. "Terrorist scum," he muttered, the slur unspoken but loud. Days bled into weeks, her story rewritten by Tate's machine. Headlines branded her the villain, her CIA badge stripped, her name a curse. Tate surfaced overseas, a free man in some lawless haven, his grin plastered on smuggled TVs she glimpsed through guards' hands. "Justice served," he'd crowed, his empire intact, her fight ash. Lena's fate gnawed at her, no word, no hope, while Jamal's silence screamed death, or worse. She'd exposed him, rallied the world, but he'd flipped it, his wealth and hate outpacing her every move. The cell's damp walls closed in, her body wasting, yet her eyes burned, unbowed. She'd lost everything, hadn't she? The guard slid a tray of gruel under the door, his boots echoing away, and Maya stared at the ceiling, cracks tracing her fractured fight. She'd started at that gas station, a spark against Tate's darkness, and burned through mobs, smears, bombs, betrayal. Each win had crumbled. Each blow he'd returned harder. His racism a system she couldn't break. Her confession had lit a fire, but he'd doused it with lies, locking her here while he thrived. Justice didn't bend for her. A black woman who dared too much. It bent for him, a monster cloaked in power. Her fingers traced the shackles, cold and final, but a whisper lingered in her mind. One day, somehow, she'd rise. What would it take to claw back from this grave? Maya Jackson's harrowing journey in Police Officers Have Fun, touching the skirt of a black woman, shocked to learn she's a CIA agent, offers raw lessons about resilience, systemic racism, and the cost of fighting power. First, it shows that courage can ignite change, even when the odds stack high. Maya's relentless push against Sheriff Clifton Tate's empire sparked outrage and exposed corruption, proving one voice can ripple through silence. Yet, it also reveals a bitter truth. Systemic racism doesn't bend easily. Tate's ability to twist every victory, arrests, leaks, raids, into her defeat underscores how deeply prejudice embeds in institutions, shielding the powerful while crushing the defiant. Her blackness wasn't just a target, it was fuel for his hate, a lesson in how identity can weaponize injustice. Second, alliances matter, but they're fragile. Jamal's sacrifice and Lena's peril highlight the personal toll of resistance, teaching that no fight is solo, yet every gain risks loss. Finally, the story warns that truth alone isn't enough. Maya's confession rallied the world, only for Tate to flip it, framing her as the villain. It's a stark reminder. Power rewrites narratives and justice demands more than evidence. It demands unyielding will. Her cell-bound end isn't defeat. It's a call to keep clawing, even from the dark. So what's your takeaway? Comment below. Did Maya's fight inspire you, or did Tate's triumph infuriate you? Hit like if this tale gripped you, subscribe for more stories of grit, and share to spread the fire. Thanks for riding this brutal roller coaster with us. Here's to strength in every battle ahead.